Hey everyone! My friend John went to a job interview last week, totally prepared with his technical skills and impressive resume. But when he sat down, the interviewer just smiled and said, "So, I see you can code, but can you work alongside our new AI systems?" Then John's heart dropped faster than Bitcoin in a market crash. So he realized that the job market isn't just changing, it's being completely transformed. Sophia thought she had her digital marketing strategy perfected after spending months learning all the tools and building systems. But then ChatGPT dropped, and overnight, everything changed. And her carefully crafted workflow became as outdated as a flip phone at an Apple convention. So she had to choose between resisting change or adapting to something new. Sophia chose to adapt and learn, but she discovered it wasn't just about learning one new tool. Then she realized she needed a systematic approach to continuous learning. So her productivity tripled, delivering work that previously would have taken an entire team. According to experts at the British Council, the rapid pace of AI advancement makes continuous learning essential. But the half-life of skills is shrinking dramatically, and what you learn today might be outdated in 18 months. So dedicate at least 5 hours weekly to learning new tools, follow AI developments through newsletters and join communities where people are experimenting with new AI tools. Marcus walked into a meeting with his team, confidently ready to discuss their new AI implementation. But when someone asked him about the difference between machine learning and deep learning, he froze like a deer in headlights. Then that silence felt like it lasted for years. So Marcus decided he'd never be caught like that again and started with the basics of AI literacy. But he wasn't trying to become a programmer or data scientist, as he realized it's about understanding enough to have meaningful conversations and make informed decisions. So he began systematically building his digital literacy. The British Council emphasizes that digital literacy goes beyond just using digital tools, but how to get the digital literacy. Start by understanding basic AI terminology and learn the differences between machine learning, deep learning, and neural networks through introductory courses on platforms like Coursera. So you could practice using various AI tools regularly, not just the popular ChatGPT, but also industry-specific AI tools relevant to your field. Priya was staring at an AI-generated market analysis that looked absolutely perfect, with beautiful graphs and impressive predictions. But something didn't feel quite right about the conclusions. Then she decided to dig deeper into the data. So she discovered the AI had made connections that looked statistically significant but made no logical sense in their industry context. But what if she hadn't applied critical thinking? She would have walked into that client presentation with fundamentally flawed recommendations, so human judgment remains irreplaceable in the AI era. And as Lomit Patel points out in his research, while AI can process vast amounts of data and identify patterns, it lacks the nuanced understanding that comes from human experience. So the ability to critically evaluate AI outputs becomes essential. But how can you sharpen your critical thinking? Practice questioning AI outputs by asking why and how questions, learn basic logical fallacies so you can spot them in AI reasoning, then develop the habit of validating AI conclusions against real-world experience. So you could create decision frameworks that combine AI insights with human judgment. Derek was a brilliant developer who could code circles around everyone else. But when AI coding assistants became mainstream, he smugly declared he'd never be replaced because of his technical brilliance. Then 6 months later, he was struggling while others thrived. So his colleagues realized the issue wasn't technical skill, it was that he couldn't collaborate effectively with teams implementing AI solutions. He had the IQ but lacked the EQ. According to research from skimming.ai, emotional intelligence has become even more valuable in the AI era. But that's precisely because it's something AI struggles to replicate. As machines handle more technical tasks, our human capacity for empathy and connection becomes more distinctive. So this creates a new competitive advantage for emotionally intelligent professionals. But how can you develop your EQ? Practice active listening, where you focus entirely on understanding others, on recognizing emotional patterns in yourself and others. So you can develop self-awareness about your emotional triggers and learn conflict resolution techniques that address both logical and emotional aspects of disagreements. Last summer, Jade was part of a product development team using AI to generate new ideas. But after feeding it all their market research, competitor data, and customer feedback, the AI spat out hundreds of concepts that felt like slight variations of existing products. Then they found themselves stuck in what innovation experts call the adjacent possible incremental improvements rather than breakthrough thinking. So the team was frustrated by the lack of truly innovative concepts, but then something interesting happened when another team member, Lynn, misinterpreted an AI suggestion and she combined it with an entirely unrelated concept from her hobby. So that mistake led to their most successful product launch ever. But how can you strengthen your creative muscles? Practice combining ideas from different domains, then use techniques like scamper, substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to other uses, eliminate, reverse to transform existing ideas. So you can create environments that promote psychological safety where wild ideas are welcomed rather than immediately judged. Ryan recently watched a brilliant data scientist present findings from an AI analysis. But as the presenter droned on about algorithms and confidence intervals, Ryan watched the executive team's eyes glaze over. Then all that valuable insight went to waste because the scientist couldn't translate complex AI concepts into business value. So the presentation failed despite the quality of the analysis. But in another meeting, Kelly explained how AI was like having a smart but inexperienced intern. Sometimes brilliant, sometimes hilariously wrong, and always needing human guidance. Then the room lit up with understanding and engagement. So the same complex concepts became accessible through effective communication. Lomit Patel emphasizes that as AI systems become more embedded in our workflows, the ability to articulate ideas clearly becomes increasingly valuable. But how can you improve this critical skill? Practice explaining complex concepts using analogies and storytelling, then learn to tailor your communication to different audiences and develop active listening skills to ensure you're addressing actual concerns rather than presumed ones. So you can master the art of visual communication to complement your verbal explanations. Jamie was implementing a new AI recruitment tool that promised to make their hiring process more efficient. But a team member suddenly asked, "Have we checked if this system has bias against certain demographic groups?" Then Jamie's blood ran cold. He hadn't even considered it. And they discovered that the AI had been trained primarily on historical data from their industry, which had traditionally favored certain demographic profiles. But if they had implemented it without modifications, they would have perpetuated those same biases at scale, and they would have done so with the false confidence of objective technology. So this experience taught Jamie that ethical awareness isn't optional in the AI era. It's fundamental. So how can you develop ethical awareness? Educate yourself about common ethical issues in AI, including bias, privacy concerns, transparency, and accountability. Create ethical frameworks for AI implementation in your organization. So you could practice identifying potential unintended consequences of AI applications and cultivate diverse perspectives when developing and deploying AI systems. Zoe was working on a complex marketing campaign and decided to experiment with using AI as her creative partner. But her first instinct was to ask it to create a viral marketing campaign for our new product, while the results were spectacularly generic. Then she tried again with specific parameters, examples of their brand voice, and clear constraints. So the difference was night and day, and she realized that working effectively with AI isn't about delegation, it's about collaboration. The British Council highlights this as a fundamental skill for the future workforce. But how to leverage AI as a tool that augments human capabilities rather than replaces them. Think of it like dancing with a partner who has different strengths than you do. So you need to learn when to lead, when to follow, and how to create something together that neither could create alone. But how can you master this skill? Start by understanding the strengths and limitations of AI tools in your field. Then learn to break down complex tasks into components where AI can add value and develop clear processes for reviewing and refining AI outputs. So, maintain a healthy skepticism. Know when to trust AI suggestions and when human judgment should prevail. Raj spent hours struggling with an AI system, getting increasingly frustrated as it kept missing the mark on what he needed. But just as he was ready to write a scathing review about how AI isn't ready for prime time, his co-worker, Mia, glanced at his screen. Then she said, "That's not how you talk to these systems," rewrote his request, and within seconds he had exactly what he needed. So that was Raj's introduction to prompt engineering, the art and science of effectively communicating with AI systems. According to a Financial Times report, this emerging skill is quickly becoming essential across industries. But prompt engineering isn't just about writing better queries and understanding how AI systems interpret and process language, a language that bridges human intention and machine understanding. It's about knowing how to frame your requests, provide context, set constraints, and guide the AI toward your desired outcome. So how can you develop it? Start by understanding the basic principles of how large language models interpret instructions. Then learn common prompt patterns that yield better results, like using specific formatting, providing examples, or breaking complex tasks into steps. So experiment with different approaches and keep track of what works, and develop a mental model of AI capabilities and limitations so you can set realistic expectations. Miguel was involved in an international product launch, but his company had used an AI content generator to create marketing materials for multiple countries. While the language translation seemed perfect, the campaign bombed in several regions. Then they discovered the AI had completely missed cultural nuances, using colors, images and metaphors that were inappropriate or even offensive in certain cultures. So the entire campaign had to be scrapped and redesigned at enormous cost. But why cultural intelligence is becoming increasingly valuable in the AI era? As shown by skimming.ai research, while AI can process language, it struggles with deeper cultural contexts and sensitivities, and as global business becomes more interconnected through technology, cultural misunderstandings become more costly. So your ability to navigate different cultural contexts becomes a significant asset. But how can you develop your cultural intelligence? Start by recognizing your own cultural biases and how they shape your thinking. Then you also need to learn about different cultural dimensions and how they influence business practices. So practice perspective taking to understand situations from different cultural viewpoints and develop the ability to recognize when AI outputs might need cultural adaptation. AI systems are typically trained on data that may contain cultural biases or lack representation. Taylor has always been successful in tech, but when I asked her recently how she stays ahead of the curve with all these AI changes, she told me something surprising. She explained, "I don't try to master every new tool. I focus on staying curious and asking questions nobody else is asking." So while others were debating whether AI would replace their jobs, she was experimenting with how it could enhance her work and identifying new opportunities. But why in the AI era, curiosity is becoming increasingly valuable? When technological landscapes shift rapidly, the curious minds who ask what if, and why not, often discover opportunities others miss, and cultivating curiosity becomes a strategic advantage. But how can you develop it? Make a habit of asking open-ended questions about AI developments in your field, and set aside time for purposeful exploration of new tools without immediate practical goals, so you could connect with people outside your industry to gain fresh perspectives. Last year, NOAA's entire department was restructured after implementing a new AI system. Projects got reshuffled, responsibilities have changed, some roles were eliminated, some colleagues thrived amid the chaos while others struggled desperately. But what made the difference? Resilience, the ability to adapt to stress and adversity, so he could bounce back from setbacks and grow stronger through challenges. So when a Ford director shared in Business Insider how pivoting careers during economic downturns taught them that resilience isn't just about individual survival, then it was clear that it's about effectively managing change at organizational levels too. So as AI transforms workplaces, this dual skill becomes increasingly valuable. But how can you build resilience? Develop a mindset that sees challenges as opportunities for learning and build strong, professional networks that provide support during transitions, then practice stress management techniques. So you could focus on what you can control rather than what you can't. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content on navigating the future of work. Drop a comment letting me know which of these skills you're focusing on developing first. Until next time, keep learning, stay curious, and remember, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today.